What's that? Oh, yeah, yep.
Okay, real set?
Yep. So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second? Second. We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I have it. Carries. Chair will entertain a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
Motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, roll call by the town clerk, please.
Kerry McGee,
Yep.
Greg LaBoissoniere.
Here.
Deb Bacon. Here. Gary Cody.
Here.
Ann Dixon.
Here.
Nicholas Gorham.
Here.
Edward Zika.
Here.
Okay, and I've asked if everybody would stand, remove their headgear for a pledge of allegiance. Town Sergeant, if you would lead us, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you who would like to remain standing for invocation, Lord, as we gather today at this meeting, we ask that you will be in our midst. Help us to make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Help us to be able to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way and be willing to give up having our own way. God, let this meeting be productive and should be in all areas of our lives. Help us keep you at the forefront of our minds as we do the work set before us. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Town Sergeant, emergency evacuation plan, please. Okay, the next item on the agenda is President's comments. Like usual, I don't have a lot, but I do want to mention that the Nathaniel Green Homestead is having Christmas at Spell Hall on December 14th and 15th, a Saturday and Sunday. They do a great job down there, so anybody who has the opportunity to go down there and spend some time, they do a nice job of decorating, and they're giving tours of the Spell Hall. Also, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and also we keep in mind the people in our military who are not able to come home, and for their reason, we're able to enjoy Thanksgiving with our families. So please keep them in mind. And with that being said, next item on the agenda will be approval of town council minutes for November 12th, 2019.
Motion.
We have a motion to accept. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, any comments? Yes, Deb.
I have a small comment that will pass on to the clerk at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Deb.
Since the last meeting was not
videotaped. I know there's an audio recording of it. Could we put that on the town website, the audio recording?
There's actually a video, there is a video
There-
recording.
there-
There's no audio with the video. Apparently, with my absence, it didn't get on. What I'm
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
do-
I couldn't find the video.
Video's on there. There's
Okay.
no audio on it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attempt to
We don't have,
overlay the audio track that we have from,
The-
on top of the video.
okay, all
It's
right.
like watching
Haven't
a,
had a chance to do it yet.
it's like watching a movie where the lips don't match. Yeah. No Godzilla movie or something. All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, the chair entertain a motion to accept the town council minutes.
I make
We
a
already-
motion to accept the town code.
We already did that.
Did we already make that motion? I'm not with you.
No, I made the comment. We're
Oh,
ready
you
to
made the
vote.
comment. Yeah, wait, we made the motion.
Take some
Okay.
more NyQuil.
All in favor? Yeah, I'm with you. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Carrie,
Okay.
excuse me?
Yes,
Could we move, at this point, could we move the resolutions E 1, 2, and 3 forward?
yes, that's fine. I don't
Is
think
that
we don't
okay?
need to vote on that, so that'll be fine. Madam Clerk, do you want to read resolution E1, please?
Resolution appointing one member to the planning commission.
Okay, Kevin Reyes, is he here, please?
How about a vote?
Yeah, how about that? Okay, the chair entertain a motion to approve Kevin Reyes for planning commission. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Now you can come up, Kevin.
Yes.
Come on. There you go.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the state and support the laws and constitution thereof in the Constitution of the United States of America, and that you will well and truly execute the office members of the Coventry Planning Commission, for which you have been appointed in Coventry, Rhode Island, for the long term ensuing, until others be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged thereof, so help you God. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Kevin, so you work hard for us there.
Okay.
I know you will. You give 100% in everything, brother.
Yes, no, I did not read that off. Yeah. Okay, that term does expire May 1st of 2020, so I'll have to do this over again, in the future, okay? All right. The next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, E2, please.
Resolution appointing one member to the zoning board of review.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve Leonard Doeg to the position of the Coventry Zoning Board of Review.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is Leonard Doeg here? Okay. All right, so raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the state and support the laws and constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States of America, and that you will well and truly execute the office as a member of the Coventry Zoning Board of Review to be appointed as an alternate member with the term expiring May 31st, 2020, for which you have been appointed in Coventry, Rhode Island, for a term ensuing so until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming forward, man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, E3, please.
Resolution appointing one member to the juvenile hearing board.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Byron Thomas to the Coventry Juvenile Hearing Board.
I make a motion to appoint Brian Thomas to the Juvenile Hearing Board.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is Brian Thomas? Okay. solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the state and support the laws and the Constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States of America, and that you will well and truly execute the office as a member of the Coventry Juvenile Hearing Board, to be appointed as a full member with the term expiring December 1st, 2022, for which you have been appointed in Coventry, Rhode Island, for a term ensuing or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God. Congratulations, thank you very much.
Congratulations, Brian, thanks.
Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you for coming forward, Brian. All the best.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the school department report. Hello, Mrs. Clooney, how are you today?
Fine, how are you, Mr.
Good, you
President?
can pull that down if you want. There you go.
How's that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Hold on, I have this thing's on my face, I can't.
Don't want to get the best of you.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a few items tonight. I think there's 4 items here. To date, Coventry Public Schools has hosted 5 community forums to inform our community stakeholders about the initiatives we are taking with our facilities. This includes the necessity for school construction process, the current state of our existing facilities, and potential strategies, plans to address our facilities needs going forward. Studio Jade, that's the architect that put together the plans, has facilitated each forum. The last 2 forums will be held as follows: December 3rd at Tyoke Elementary School and December 4th at Washington Oak Elementary School. We are encouraging each of the town council members to attend at least one of the 2 remaining forums. I think they start at 6, in case anybody's interested. Congratulations are in order to our high school unified volleyball team. They completed the state unified volleyball tournament, and we are pleased to report that the Oakers are the 2019 Rhode Island Unified Volleyball Champions. We would like to congratulate them on their victory. Congratulations are also in order for the Coventry High School Quiz Bowl team. They competed on October 26th and bested Charahoe and Mount St. Charles to make it to the statewide tournament that was held on November 9th. The congratulations go out to the Quiz Bowl team members: Liam Cohen, Evan Hammer, Zachary Hammer, Bernice Lee, Nevin McCallum. The volunteer coaches are Mrs. Donna Bowden and Mrs. Kelly Aronakis. Mrs. Brooke Maycumber is the official team supporter. The team met after school several afternoons with their coaches. Each team member has practiced diligently. This is only Coventry High School's 2nd year in competing. Thank you to all the coaches and students for their time and commitment. They competed against Hendricken Saturday on November 9th. This was live audience taping at the Rhode Island PBS studio in Providence. Our cheerleaders and team mascot, as well as the high school administration and parents, were in attendance. Because the show will not be aired until April of 2020, all participants are sworn to secrecy on the outcome. So more to come. Okay, and it says the Coventry School Committee and school administration held their first FY21 budget workshop at our last school committee meeting on Thursday, November 24th. The school department administration presented a budget that includes goals for the upcoming year, as well as long-term initiatives. The school finance director spoke about the numerous challenges the district faces on both revenue and expenditure sides of the budget, which is something I think we are all faced with almost yearly. Recognizing these are challenges affecting the entire community as we begin the budget cycle, it is imperative that we include and to engage the town council in discussion as soon as possible. The superintendent and our director of finance will be requesting weekly meetings with the town manager Town Finance Director. We also look forward to the December 9th joint budget meeting with the Town Council. And lastly, I'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your family. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, absolutely.
I'd just like to mention that, thank you, Mrs. Colonian. Councilperson Labossiere and I are members of the school design team. I've attended 3 of the 5 forums that have been held in the schools, and the attendance at these forums has been very, very low. It's extremely important. There were 2 more left. It's extremely important that anyone who is here or anyone who's listening to this video make an attempt to attend at least one of the forums that's going to be held at one of the elementary schools next week. It's very important for you to understand the kinds of challenges that the schools are facing, and it's important for you to give some input concerning what you believe would be important school needs that we need to consider. So the information that's being obtained at each of these sessions is going to be brought back to the design team, who will then be meeting in December to discuss the community feedback. So I just would like to encourage people to attend one of the 2 remaining forums that are going to be held next week. Extremely important to get your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carrie,
Okay.
do you mind if I just,
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
one more thing? Donna, I hope you don't mind. I want to just add one more congratulations. It was in the paper. Of course, I was reading Friday's paper this morning. But last Tuesday, we had 5 student athletes sign their national letter of intent to play college sports. So this is a huge accomplishment, and everyone should be very proud of it. It is a wonderful time for them, and they're going to have a great time in college as a student athlete. So good luck to all of them. There are 5 of them, and I kind of highlighted quickly. You have wrestling, soccer, and softball. So it's a great accomplishment. So I just wanted to add, pardon? Female and male? Yes, female and male, so it's even better. Yes, it is.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman.
I just wanted to add, sorry, I didn't want to step on your toes, but I just wanted to add that.
No,
That's a
thank you for
huge-
bringing that to our
That's a
attention.
huge accomplishment.
Definitely well worth mentioning.
Thank you. No, they don't. That's why I wanted to recognize them. Thank you.
Okay, once again, thank you very much on that. The next item on the agenda, I think we're going to table, I believe that we're,
Hold off on that one.
yeah, the item 5. So, Madam Clerk, item 6, if you would, please. That would be B6, yes.
Finance report by Finance Director John Arnett.
Good evening, John, how are you?
Good evening. Much better than last time I was here. That bronchitis is cleared out and
Good.
feeling much better. So,
I think you gave it to me, I'm starting.
huh? You don't care?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Council. I'll do the same thing as I consistently do. I'll try to make this a little bit quick, and please stop me if you have any questions. Again, this is the same format as every other financial update. We're a 30% of the way through the year, so that's what we're looking at. We're about to transition into the winter months, so keep that in mind as well. Some collections aside, something I wanted to note real quickly is that you'll see that we're up above on the collection rates on the municipal and the school department side. But one large thing, and that's attributed to interest income, which has come in above what we were expecting or budgeted for. And then prior collections, as noted in the last one, and then the state reimbursements come in as lump sum. So that has upward pressure on that. One thing to take note is the real estate taxes, where we are currently, is sitting right at that exact 33.3%. This is as of October. So that is what we're looking at. Town Hall, we're doing well overall. Pretty much sticking below that 33% and better. A lot of these budgets, again, are relatively small. For example, the Board of Canvassers will have, during election cycles and things of that nature, tends to spike pretty quickly. There was a budgetary change that took place last year to this year. That's why you see such a large expenditure from last year versus this year. Again, town hall, this is the second one, again, all below 33% and under, except for the tax assessors. That is due to the revaluation, so those are large chunks that come out at one given time. So that's where you're having the upward pressure of that 37%. Police total budget is pushed up high. I looked into this one. I actually talked to Therese about this as well. This is due to overtime again, but most of it has to do with the pension and insurance payments that get pushed out a month prior. So we've paid into November, so that's why you're seeing that pressure up there. It's quite large. So that's why you're getting a lot of that pressure on that police department budget. So the bottom one says 37%. That's where most of the pressure is. So another large item, for example, is the wages. The wages are at just exactly 33%. It's not 33.3, it's almost exactly 33%. So that's where the upward pressure is pushed on the total budget as well. Public Works, total budget is 29. Again, all looking pretty well within and reasonable within that 33%. This is going to be interesting to see what happens through the winter months. I've heard apparently there's a Coventry resident that told me that the acorns are really large this year, so it might have a really bad snowstorm, but we'll see what happens. Planning and zoning, again, like I mentioned last time, the budget here for the planning department there was an upward pressure on the employee expenses that was paid out at the very beginning of the year. Again, as you will see going forward, that number will get closer and closer to the total percent, that 33%, that benchmark percent. Again, the rest of these departments, overall, these departments are really, really small as far as budget are concerned. So most of it is in wages. Public service, we're doing well here. The recreation department, again, I double checked this one too. This is still, the pressure there is in the temporary employees, and because that was a large expenditure, and there's also the prepayment into the group insurance as well. Those had the largest effect on that upward pressure. As requested, I put in the one expense that we have in the contingency fund. This one was from the Financial Town Meeting 2, the bill that comes in after the transition over. So because it wasn't budgeted in the last year, we put it into this year's budget for the contingency. It was $400, again, of the $219,000 that's budgeted in there this year. So that leaves the remaining balance of $218,600 as of October 31st. Overall, the general update is for the audit. There's been a lot of work done. The municipal side, we are basically complete. There's this last little bits that that need to be outstanding, sort of like the manager's discussion analysis, economic factors, these pieces that go in to tie everything together. So we're basically done on the municipal side. The school department, I put the word lagging for lack of better terms. Considering the amount of pressure and amount of work that was put on them, where we are now versus last year is substantially ahead. We are about 2 months ahead of schedule from where we were last year at this time for comparison. So even though I use the word lagging, I'm still excited by how far along they've come, and that there's still potential to actually finish on time as well. So again, I was looking for a good term to use. That is the best term that came to mind. But again, there's some things that are outstanding that are out of their control, such as Angel, which is their pension report. They have no control over getting that from the actuary. They're still waiting on that in order to do their polls. So there's some things there that are outside of their control. But even given that, we're putting pressure, and we're still working hard to get it completed on time.
Mr. Arnett,
Yes, sir.
also remember the incident that we had with their data and recovering from that. So I feel as though they've done a great job of recovering from that incident and
to get to where they are now on the audit is phenomenal.
Absolutely, that's what I was alluding to, but yes, with everything else that they've been dealing with the past few months, where they are now with everything, you have to commend the team for how well they've done. The budget process, as you know, we're already starting that up. We're looking at that. I'm ahead of schedule than I was last year with some of my analysis, putting things together, understanding how things work. So we're working diligently. We've already accepted the meetings with Craig and the finance director, start working together on this as well. Again, the sewer rate study, we're just looking at that model. I believe that will be coming up at the next meeting, but that's on Mr. Warzika's radar. And so, again, by the timeline. With that, real estate is adequate, exactly what is good. And other forms such as the investment returns are strong. Expenses overall are acceptable at this time. Any questions?
Okay, Councilwoman.
Thank you for your report. I'm looking at page 35 and 132 where you have your summary. And I note that real estate is adequate, other forms strong, and expenses acceptable. And when I was reading this, I was wondering how you determine if something's is adequate or strong or acceptable. I mean, what kind of guidelines are you using to put in these terms?
That's a good question. It's really experience when it comes to things of this nature. So like, for example, I would look at, you'd want to deviate out by at least a month expenditures. If you're coming in within a couple of weeks and I can see adjustments that are coming up, I can understand that, expenses, for example, are in line, or there can be corrections that can come up. When it comes to other forms, like, for example, strong for the investment returns, where they stand now, it seems to be a good definition for it. Adequate, is just a good term to use for what's in line. So it's just a little bit more on the experience side.
I mean, I love it when you use the term strong, but I just don't know what it means. But thank you for your explanation.
You're welcome.
Okay, Councilwoman.
I just had a couple questions under police, under this one. Emergency management,
Okay.
it's up 25%. There's an uptick, so,
You mean 25% of expenditure?
yes.
Mhm.
Do you know the reason for that?
For emergency management being 25% of the budget and not being 33% of the budget expenditure?
Yeah, there was just some sort of,
I haven't looked into it, and I would be hesitant to venture a guess, but if I were to venture a guess, I would say something on the order of there was a personnel shift of one person in the dispatcher, or not dispatchers. So no, I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
No, emergency management, last year at this time, we did not, if I'm not mistaken, we were missing our emergency management assistant director for a month or two. The prior one had left and we hadn't brought the new one on board, and that's why you're seeing, that's primarily the salary that goes to that position. And I think that's what's going on with that, why you're seeing it higher this year than last year.
okay.
There was just free time with no assistant director being paid.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, again, but we're still well within the limits of where we would look to be.
Okay. And under public works, engineering?
Engineering, 33%.
So is that the very bottom? Yes.
Yep.
It's higher than last year, this time last year, so reason?
I didn't look into the variance from year over year trends. I just am comparing where we are right now.
And engineering, that's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same situation where our former in-house engineer was leaving, and we were bringing on board the
Consultant.
the
Which was supposed
the
to
company.
Which was supposed, was
Right.
supposed to save us money.
It is.
Okay, it is.
It is. We actually, this year's budget is predicated solely on that outside source, and it was less than what last year's. Like I said, I believe though why you're seeing a slight discrepancy there as well is the fact that we were missing our engineer for a bit, and that's why.
Yeah, maybe perhaps, I know, with the percentages, maybe we could put in there, the budget from last year, what was expenditure last year, and then the FTM.
The actual numbers?
Yeah, and where we are, maybe we could do that, maybe make it a little easier.
So would you rather have this in dollars than in percentages?
Yeah, what was last year, what they spent, what was approved by the FTM, and what they're spending right now, is just to compare. How we do it with our budget book.
I'm just
We
trying-
have the columns.
I'm just trying to figure out how it, in the flow and the scheme of things, but I'll try to put something together a little bit more, to add a little
Just,
bit more
it
context.
may make it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to
Because
provide
I know
some
you,
context,
yeah,
yes.
you have all the numbers, in front of you on your screen, and it maybe make it a little easier for everyone to see where we compare from
I'll see what
last year to this year.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay,
See how-
all right, thank you. Oh,
Okay.
and thank you for the contingency fund.
You're welcome.
John, thank you for that report.
Very
Doing
welcome.
a good job, thank you again. Okay, next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, C1, please.
Authorizing the town manager to sign lease agreement for Fish Hill softball field located at 130 Fish Hill Road in Coventry.
Do you want to discuss it? Oh,
This-
I see Rainey's here.
Rain is, it's actually for the Parks and Rec Department. This is a long-term lease that we've had for years. The last time it was signed was back in '94. The state has added a new requirement, and they want us to have our own insurance coverage on that property while we're using it. The lease has been vetted by the council. We've gone through it all. We went back and forth through a couple of minor changes, but there's no cost to the town. It's simply a formality. Like I said, they've been doing this since this is part of the big river land, and this has been going on with them for years and years. But that changed where we had to add our own insurance, which has been added on.
And I see it's a 5-year lease with the
A 5-year
possibility
kicker.
of one extension. All right.
Yep.
So, Randy, you have anything to say on that before we ask any questions?
No, I'm just here to answer any questions.
Pretty much.
It's a heavily used property, so the community does enjoy it.
Okay.
Mr. President, on page 40 of 132, number 8, it says that the state requires us to use only organic fertilizers. Are we using organic fertilizers? Because it's written into the requirements here.
Absolutely,
We are.
absolutely. I've been following the 1994 agreement, and we use only organic fertilizers, and we follow it to a T.
So is that on all our properties?
Just that one,
Oh, just this particular one because it's in the requirements by the state?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for council? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have, I don't know if it's for you or for Ed. I know this is dated June 27th, and it was supposed to be back to them.
This has
by-
been an ongoing process with them because we've had some issues in resolving the whole lease. We've had questions, the attorney had questions, so this went back and forth for several months. That's why you've seen the delay from the time frame that this originally came in. It's
Okay.
just to ensure that we were doing our due diligence and making sure everything was resolved and we weren't on the hook for anything that we weren't already.
And this has been through the trust?
Yes, the way the trust is, we have the release from the trust for the insurance. The binder came in the other day covering it. So that's one of the other things, we waited until we resolved all of this. It's actually insured, I believe says 2 million plus 4 million for each incident. The coverage is actually for 5 million, so we're at over and above on that.
Originally, back in the summer, they put additional property that Coventry Soccer Association actually rents from them. So I had to make sure that that was out of our lease, and there were some parking issues. I didn't want to take responsibility for land that we have not taken care of in the past.
Okay.
I know that field's used quite often. It's, yeah, very, very well used, that soccer field, so. Okay.
I,
are there any
I,
other-
I
yes.
actually have just another question. So these fields they're already established and?
They're established, Coventry, yeah.
Okay.
And Coventry Soccer Association, men's softball, girls softball, lacrosse sometimes uses it. It's a very popular field, and it's quite beautiful, actually.
Okay, thank you. I do have one more question. It's just the agenda, because I did, when I first read it, authorizing town manager to sign lease agreement for Fish Hill softball field located. But the resolution doesn't state that. So what's on the agenda and what's on the resolution are two different.
It does say it in the lease itself, the Fish Hill softball, in there.
But I just wanted to make sure, I mean, because it sounds like, you know, it's for we're signing a lease agreement for the Fish Hill softball. It's not saying we're signing a lease with the state of Rhode Island on the agenda. So I just wanted to make sure that that was okay. It was a little confusing.
The solicitor, you've looked it over and
It's acceptable. I approve the agenda.
Oh, yeah, it says
4.
but what I'm saying is, wouldn't you put on on here, authorizing town manager to sign lease with the state of Rhode Island? That's, I'm just,
all right, we got
I
an
just
opinion
wanted to make
from,
sure.
yeah, we got an opinion from our solicitor saying everything was good, so that should answer that question. Everything was fine with, thank you.
Acceptable.
All right, the next, let's see, I guess if there's no other questions, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion
Any question?
to approve.
Oh, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Can I
Thank you,
just
Rana.
also invite all the council members to our holiday event on December 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. if you're available.
That's what Santa Claus provides.
Santa Claus is coming.
All
We have over 24 lighted trees, so I just want to let everyone know.
Thank you very much. We'll be there.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Raina, what was the time? Sorry.
December 6th, a Friday, from 6 to 8 p.m.
How's the temperature gonna be this
Yeah,
year?
can you make it a little warm for us?
Every year.
Wasn't the last time, but just,
I'll
don't
work
worry,
on that.
bring plenty of hot chocolate
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
man.
and a flask.
I'll provide that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Madam Clerk, the next item on the agenda is C2, please.
Discussion on forming a charter review commission to submit recommendations for amendments, additions, or deletions to the town council.
We've been in discussion a little bit about thinking about putting a charter review commission together. I guess this is just for discussion. Does anybody from the council have an opinion? Or,
Yeah,
Yeah, so why don't you?
please,
All right, so.
please, let's put a charter review commission together with representatives from all 5 of the districts in the town of Coventry. The representatives from those districts can submit a list of names or call people and have them come in and fill out applications, whatever we have to do. Let's make sure that all the districts are represented. Let's make sure that they're enthusiastically interested in reviewing the entire charter and bringing the changes back to us. And let's give them a timeline to work on, so we can be as expedient as possible.
I believe the charter states that we need a 9-member board, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes, so we could get one from each district, and then, that will still leave us with, 4 members, like at large. We can
That's
decide the best
fine
candidates.
with me, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, I
in
think
my
so
opinion.
too. I mean, I think it's time. We have some issues that need to be looked over. We had it done a few years back, and then it came up in the vote, and some of the items we voted for, and some we didn't. So we certainly am open to any suggestions, and I know Councilman Dixon, I'm sure you have something to say, because this is a big idea of yours also, so please, anything to say?
I do. One of the issues that came up is the slowness by which we've been able to find candidates to be a full-time town manager for us. We can only appoint our interim town manager for just so long. So we need to look at that section of the charter, but we're also going to solicit ideas from other department heads concerning ideas that they may have, recommendations they may have for changes to the charter, what they'd like to see done. But what happens is that once the 9 members are appointed, they have a very, very quick turnaround time. They really need to make their recommendations, get them to the town council, we need to vote on them, and they need to be really done by the end of May, so it can be on the ballot in November. So it may be appealing to people to know that there is a short time frame and they won't be committing to 1, 2, or 3, or 5 years of time to devote to this important activity. I was on the Charter Review Commission in 2012. It was a wonderful experience to get to know the town, to work with a very
interested, very professional group of people. So I would highly recommend that anyone who is sitting here tonight or is going to listen to the video will consider putting in their name to be a member of the Charter Review Commission. Quick turnaround time. We should appoint people by January, and they should be able to report back at the end of May what their recommendations may be.
Let me task each council member with coming up with a name with somebody from their district, and then the other 4 applicants that will go from a pool that, they can apply for the position and we can interview them. So if in the next month you could come up with somebody from your district that would be interested to work hard and work to get this, this formed and worked on, that'd be great. All right, so any other questions? This doesn't require a vote, it's just, we will.
I will get it
submit to the
posted on the website and get that, and I will also, if you have no objections, I will put an ad in the reminder that we're looking for people for it as well, because that goes out to every household, so maybe we'll get a little bit more coverage out of that by doing that. It would cost, it'll be a couple $100, but we'll do an ad in that to try to get it out.
I think that's a good idea, and we will all submit a name to you within the next, couple of weeks, all right?
All right, thank you.
With that being said, item C3, Madam Clerk.
Approval of National Grid / Verizon pole location request, 535 Twin Brook Lane.
Okay, this came up in front of us last meeting, and we decided to table it because there was a gentleman from the public who had.
Mr. Roy, I have been in contact with Mr. Roy on a couple of occasions, the last of which was today. I went over to his location to check to see the whole situation on what's going on. Any telephone pole that's being put in on town property and the road being town property, the council has to approve it. This pole that's going to go in is actually going to be in the middle of 2 poles right at the beginning of the entrance of a driveway of a new $800,000 house that's being built. Mr. Roy's concerns were that they were going to have to, apparently when somebody was there checking out the location of the pole, told him that they thought maybe they would have to do a guideline over to something on his property. That's not what's listed in your packet. I've spoken to the grid on this. That's not what's planned. They will not and cannot just go put something on someone else's property. They cannot stick another pole on the other side on the town's property without doing it. So Mr. Roy's fears have been,
Well, you got to talk to him.
I had several times with him. Like I said, I was on the phone with him this afternoon because he was going to show up to the meeting if he needed to. I explained everything to him. This is standard. This is just a single pole that's going to go on the opposite side of his property, on town property at the edge of the road where the others are.
All right, I appreciate you looking into that. Is there any questions from anybody from the council?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. We have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda, D1, Madam Clerk.
Application by Sunny Dog LLC, doing business as Hash New York System for a new victualling license, 656 Main Street.
Okay,
Mr. President, I need to recuse myself from this action, please.
okay, no problem. This applicant is not here this evening, they also own another restaurant, and they are very busy with the holiday season, so I think everything was fairly cut and dry on it. They are planning on opening up a New York System down at the building next to the Harris Grill, the Harris Bar and Grill, next to the mill project down there in Harris. So,
Jaggers?
Yes, in New York System. So, and they what's the name? I don't know what the name of the restaurant is. I forget. They own the restaurant in Cranston. So they called and they apologized for not being able to come here to this evening. But if there are any questions that we can't answer or the clerk can't, then we can always address them to them. But they're ready to get moving. I welcome the business. This is any business that wants to come to Coventry and do business with us. I appreciate that, and that is in my district, and I think it's great. That building it's a small building right on the corner of Main Street and right along the mill. There's I can't remember the name of that road.
Broad Street.
Broad Street, and it's a small building there, and it's could be a great place for it. So I looked over the application, and I know that the building officials have no issues. They're awaiting a police check, and the zoning officer gave it a positive recommendation. So obviously, everything will pending the favorable decision on the police check, and anything else would have to be pending as far as the checks and zoning. Like I said, they gave a favorable recommendation. So are there any questions? Yes.
I don't know if you can answer it. Do you know what the hours of operation and the days are?
I think they were planning on when I spoke to them, they were planning on opening for breakfast and lunch. So exact hours, I don't know, but I would assume somewhere 2 to 3 o'clock would be breakfast and lunch, in the afternoon. So, it's not something that's gonna be like only the arena, they'll open all night or whatever.
No, I don't think Mr. Colicchio wants something there that's gonna compete with his other business,
yeah.
which is basically a dinner business at the Harris, so.
All right. Did that answer your question? Okay, how about anybody?
Mr. President, I do have a question. On many of these applications, we get a summary. It says, building official has no issues, awaiting police check, zoning officer gave it a positive recommendation, et cetera. There's never any dates associated with this. If we ever had to go back and do some kind of audit trail, it would be very difficult. I would like to recommend that when we get a summary that says that check off this, check off that, there is a date.
The dates are all on the original records when they come in. We just don't put it on here. If you'd like to see the dates that it was done, we could add them in, but we track those dates on the system itself when we do these.
Well, if you have the dates, I would appreciate just seeing
We will
the
add it in
dates,
for you, Mrs.
because
Mrs. Dixon.
That's fine. Thank you so much.
You're
because
welcome.
I noticed it's the same thing on every application, and I don't know if it was 3 months ago or 5 months ago, or we're up to date, et cetera. So it would be helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, well, if there are no other questions,
Motion for approval?
we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. When they come in, welcome the business, to town, and hopefully they do well. All right. The next item on the agenda would be D2, please, Madam Clerk.
Hawker license on Noose Neck Hill Road selling Christmas trees.
Okay, we see that application in our package. Looks like issuance of license and contingent upon approval of the police department, and zoning is given favorable, and issuance of license is contingent on receipt of a retail sales permit. So, Madam Clerk, all that stuff comes into you prior to the license being issued to them. Okay, does anybody have any
Correct.
questions? The location, is 2065 Noose Neck Hill Road. Where is that?
Steve Saloy's property. The Saloy's.
Oh, all right, just after the new dollar. whatever.
Oh, okay.
Right on the right-hand side, which used to be yeah.
Dollar General, yeah,
General.
right after that. Okay, great. Okay, are there any questions from anybody from the council? Yep.
Real quick, hours of operation, days of week, do we have any idea?
I don't see that.
Oh,
You're here. I'm sorry. Would you please come up? Yeah, that'd be great.
I think that lady can tell us.
Yes, please.
11:29.
Just go up and say your name and address for the record, please.
19 Fairfield Court.
Yes, 19 Fairfield Court. Kimberly Bartel.
Welcome.
How are you?
Maybe you can answer a couple questions.
I hadn't really thought about actual hours, but I'm thinking 9 to 9.
9 to 9?
Yes, daily,
7
Okay.
days a week.
7 days a week.
Gotta sell as many
Till we
Christmas
sell
trees as
out,
possible.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions for the young lady when she's up?
Is that
Locally
it?
grown?
What was that?
Locally grown?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, well, that being said, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Good luck to you. Thank you. Okay. The
Hey,
next
Mr.
item.
Manager, excuse me, Mr. President, if I leave this on for too long, I'm getting.
What,
horrible
yeah,
home.
we ended up moving everything around last Thursday for the school department. They needed a setup on the floor for the meeting they were having, and it required everything being moved around. We're gonna have to tweak everything back out.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, I guess we've already done E1, 2, and 3. So, item E4, please.
Coventry Sewer Subcommittee recommendations for approval of sewer tie-ins located at 748 Washington Street, Plat 54, Lot 137, 519 Washington Street, Plat 55, Lot 66.
Okay, these came in with favorable recommendations from the sewer subcommittee. Are there any questions from anybody from the council? Yes.
I just have one quick question. I don't know if any of you can answer it. The next application that we're going to be hearing, they have the same packet. The only thing that's missing out of this current one that we're speaking of is the memorandum from Bruce from our town engineering consultant. There isn't one for this project. So I was just wondering why.
I'm wondering if it has to do with one of them being a 3-unit apartment and one of them being just a 1 unit.
No, they have multiple units. This one's a 3, and the next one, I believe, is an 8-unit.
Okay, I didn't pick that up.
No, yeah, that's not for this, yeah, we don't have the engineering report for this one that we're speaking of right now. That's the next project.
Well, like I said, it has appeared in front of the sewer subcommittee and been approved. I don't know if any other paperwork is necessary, Mr. Solicitor. Do you see that? I mean, like I said, it's been in front of the sewer subcommittee and came approved, so.
It just for consistency, I mean, we did it for one, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And just to have the packet complete, if anyone wants to go back and review it.
Maybe you guys from the sewer subcommittee could just bring that to the attention to the sewer subcommittee, Mr. Manager.
We'll make sure that letter gets into the packet.
Okay.
It may have been dropped while copying or something, because Bruce does one for every,
Okay,
That's-
could
yeah.
we?
Okay.
I
we'll
mean,
make sure that it's
Could we
attached.
make sure it gets in?
We'll make sure it gets attached
online?
in there. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and we can get copies of it, thank you.
Yep, we'll email it out.
Thank you.
All right, great. If there's no other questions, I guess it's your entertain a motion.
Well, I have one
Oh,
more
yes,
question.
go ahead.
I noticed on page 56 of 132, do we record the payment of the permit application and inspection, because those are blank? Now, when are these fees paid? Then it's not recorded on this application we have. Page 56 of 132.
Madam Clerk, would you know when they are paid? Are they paid a time application, or what's the deal on that?
I believe they paid those once they've been approved, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why these aren't checked off at this point, though.
Is it paid at the time of approval?
Believe it is, it usually is when they issue.
We'll be sure to make sure that we get whatever rightful payment.
We
is
always
due
do.
the town. Okay.
Because
always do.
one is a permit application, so that
But
would.
the inspection won't be until after it's done.
Right, but the permit application should come in when they submit the application, correct?
I would assume so.
If you would just double check on that.
I will.
Make sure that that is,
I will confirm.
okay. Neither one of them are checked, yeah. So,
But it looks like it was filled out by the applicant and probably, they personally did not check it.
doesn't the contractor normally fill most of that out?
It all depends on who's doing the app.
All right, so you'll check on that, make sure we receive that.
I will let everybody know.
Okay. All right, that answered the question. If anybody have any other questions on this? Hearing none, the chair will take a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay.
That's it,
Excuse me.
519, right?
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, would be F1. I just want to repeat that these are first readings. We are redoing what we had last meeting on first readings because out of air caution, there was some questions of whether or not we had put them in with enough time I think we needed 4 days, and we weren't sure whether we had to complete 4 days. So just to be transparent and make sure that everything was good, we're just gonna go over it again. We're gonna resubmit it and submit the advertisement and everything. So we just postponed it from last time. So it's just a first reading, and this will give us a chance to read over. There'll be no questions or comments or anything on first reading. It's just the introduction to the first reading. The next time around, we'll have a public hearing, and we'll be able to ask all the questions we want. So, Madam Clerk, would you read F1, please?
First reading of amendment to Article 10 of Coventry zoning ordinance and referral to Planning Commission by Town Clerk as provided in Rhode Island General Law 45-24-27.
Okay, and also, can you read F2, please?
First reading of amendment to Coventry Code, Chapter 204, Solid Waste Ordinance.
Okay, as we said, these are first readings. Give us a chance to look over. We got a pretty good amount of paperwork to read on these as far as the solid. We went over these last meeting real quickly, but we're gonna do it over again. So come, I believe December meeting, we'll probably have the public hearing on them and any other questions that might, all right, please.
One of these has to be posted, published 3 times.
So
Three
this is the
Fridays
first
in a row.
reading. So it won't happen
It
until
won't be
January.
until January.
Okay, January meeting, but that'll give us time to come up, compile any questions, any concerns, and be able at the public hearing ask all the questions we need. All right, great.
So I have a question of clarification. One ordinance is on earth removal. So is that on the December agenda?
No.
That will
It,
not be
it will likely be heard by the planning board. Again, they've already,
by planning?
this ordinance has already been submitted and sent for first reading and then heard by the planning board. They already prepared a report after a hearing and sent it back to us. The only reason we're doing this again, as the president indicated, is to make sure that we comply with the charter. There was a concern that we missed the posting for first reading by 1 day. We figured out that there was some
Right.
merit to that. So now it's going to go to the planning commission. They will probably rubber stamp the same report they did last time unless they got some different information. So because of that, because that will likely be in December, we really won't get anything. We can't post anything until we get their report back. When we do, we can post it for a public hearing in January.
Okay, so would that be the time at which I would ask my questions? Because I did make notes of questions I have.
Yes, that's the best time to ask the
Okay.
questions, or you can go to the planning commission as well.
Okay, because there are some places in this ordinance where there are sort of blanks left for note, numbers, et cetera, and I don't know what's gonna be put in these blanks, but I will wait until it comes in and I can also share with you what I've noticed, okay?
I can pick those up after if there's an issue with
Okay.
it. Absolutely.
Absolutely, I can show you at the end of the meeting.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Thank
They
you.
were the
Thank
same
you.
concern,
Okay,
they were the same concerns we had on September 23rd, when we
okay.
first heard
We
it.
can definitely pick it up
Yeah, if you
after
could
the meeting.
address it with him,
Thank you.
certainly the public hearing, everything will be.
We can do that, we will wait.
All right, great. That doesn't require any vote or anything, it's just first reading. So the next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody from the audience who would like to give a public comment? I'd ask that you keep the comments to 3 minutes and give your name and address for the record, please. Good evening, sir, how are you?
Kevin Toro, 20 Card Street. The Fish Hill field kind of piqued my curiosity, so I went onto the website, and whoever made this PDF really hated me, because it's so tiny you can't read it. But besides that, there's several errors. I don't see any reason why, now that things are going into a world that Parks and Rec can't go out and actually confirm all the items that are actually on this list, because it's listed under their department. And I don't see why some of these are actually on here, but that's okay. What can be done to reduce the budget? That's my big question.
This is just public comment, so, I mean, you can give your comment, and certainly, if you want to address anything to the town manager, you can address it to something to him, he can get together with the public, with the Parks and Rec director and answer any of your questions, but your comments are duly noted.
The big thing is that Fish Hill field, I counted out just on this.
Sir, could you turn that microphone on, please?
It's not on?
Push it, there you go, number 1, just push it up, yep.
I'd like to ask a point of clarification.
Yes.
You have a spreadsheet, and
Yes.
I'm not sure what is on that spreadsheet, what it's supposed to be, so it's hard for me to follow the comment.
I can barely read what's on here. The only way to really read it is to pull it up onto a computer and then
make it really, really big.
What is the spreadsheet?
Oh, the spreadsheet is all the items that Parks and Rec are maintaining. For example, the Fish Hill, the Tyoke boat ramp, which apparently has a football field, the schools, all the fields in the schools, that kind of thing.
I think what everyone's asking is, where did you get it? So they can go look at it.
The town website, and then you go into Parks and Rec, it's the very first item on the top, on the right.
All right.
All right. Here again, because we don't want to turn this into a question and answer
Yeah,
session. I understand your concerns, but please bring your concerns to the town manager, and he will have a discussion with
Okay.
Parks and Rec and help. He's really great at answering emails and have a discussion with you about it. So
Actually, he is.
he is. He's really great. He loves it when I throw the extra work onto him too. So
Oh, I've been throwing some extra work at him too.
Just give my office a call.
Okay.
We'll set up a meeting with you. If you want to come in?
Yeah.
That's easy. Usually means just wait, come on in and we'll sit down and go over whatever you need.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Seeing none,
Motion.
we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for coming out. And once again, happy Thanksgiving.